Oh, we're live.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world.
Hello.
Nice to see you again, Anne. Nice to see you, Pedro. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Perfect. Pedro, it looks like a beautiful day behind you.
It is. It's fantastic.
Excellent. All right, we already have people in the comments. Jackie, how are you? Mike, how are you doing? Astrid.
Where in the world is everybody? I see that Astrid's in Australia.
Astrid is in Australia.
Austria.
Austria.
Oh, that's Monica.
Cool. Excellent. Excellent. Welcome. Guten Tag, Monica. All right. Excellent. Well, we can get the show on the road. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is going to be the second of three Dream Builder Award sessions. Usually, we couple these with the CEO Q&A so that we can all have an opportunity. We touch base with Pedro. We ask him all of the questions that we want to ask him, and we get his insight as a CEO, as a serial entrepreneur, someone who's built businesses, grown businesses. I know, Pedro, you've had a lot to do with startups, so your experience is pretty broad, and it's a great opportunity for us to really pick your brain on all the things we want to pick your brain on. For everyone in the chat, this is a live Q&A session. Feel free to just drop in your questions. We'll bring them up. We'll answer them, whatever they are, if they relate to marketing, if they relate to business operations, if they relate to any question that you have, whatever it is, drop it in, and I'm sure we can give you an answer. Excellent. So to start off our session today, we have some questions lined up to really kick us off, and we can just get started. Unless Anne or Pedro, you have something you want to kick us off with, we can just move to the Q&A section.
Amazing.
No, I'm excited because we're going to announce the second winner of the Dream Builder Award today. I think we picked a fantastic winner, and I'm excited for that.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, the first question is, I hope, an easy one and a pretty informative one, I think. Do you have a list of the top 3 to 5 books that you would recommend to anyone really starting off on their business journey?
Does Anne want to go first on this one?
Oh, wow. I can go first. I don't know if I think my answer to that, I recently did a piece of content on TikTok about books that I actually think a lot of, unless they're very specific, so I'm excited to read your list and see about that. I think that a lot of personal development and business books are a little bit of BS, excuse the language, just in the sense that it's stuff that we all already know that we're just not doing. So it's like, if it's a way for you to just not go into action, I hate that, because we all know these things. I do love reading, but I found that in recent years, I also find a lot of inspiration, and I'm maybe in a more creative part of business with design. I found a lot more inspiration in novels and completely stuff that takes my brain off from business. The one book that I really would recommend when it comes to marketing are the books from Seth Godin, which I love. And I also really like content and the books from Simon Sinek, which is more broad about management and leadership. So those are that type of content, but also being wary of, why are we reading those business books, and is it like paralyzing us? But I would read the books from your list, Pedro. I'm excited to know what you think.
Yeah, so you asked for 3 to 5. I actually have an article with like 21 books that I recommend. I don't know if Pedro can put them in the chat, put the link in the chat to the Medium article. But I actually like how, Anne, you kind of split it up into like, for this, I like this, and for that, I like that. So I'll do the same thing for business. One of the most like mind changing books for me was Competing Against Luck by Clay Christensen. I don't know if they can click those, or if you maybe just put it in the chat in YouTube. But Competing Against Luck by Clay Christensen was absolutely fantastic, because I think a lot of times we approach business and we're implementing like, the best practices that we read, or you can go online and search like best practices for business, and you're going to get 10 million articles by 10 million different people telling you what to do. And a lot of times, whether we like to admit it or not, like, we were successful because we got lucky, right? I talk all the time about like the company that I sold. If I didn't even want to start that company, it was like kind of I did it as a favor to somebody else. And I've realized over time, like, if I would have started that company 2 years earlier or 2 years later, we probably wouldn't have seen the success that we saw. So much of what was good about that was luck, right? And it weighed on me, like, am I really good, or did I just kind of stumble into this? And the Competing Against Luck sort of applies a framework to this concept of, there are things in business that you get lucky for. There's like a famous quote, what is it, like preparation plus opportunity equals luck, right? Like that you have to be prepared and the opportunity has to present itself. But I really love the way the book kind of sets a framework. And Clay Christensen has a number of books, fantastic author, thinker. He was a Harvard Business School professor. He passed away a few years ago. But absolutely fantastic. I would read all of Clay Christensen's books. He's right up there with Simon Sinek, Seth Godin, Malcolm Gladwell in terms of like thinking. So absolutely would recommend that one for business. For marketing, one of my favorite books, it happens to be sitting on my desk, although I read it a really long time ago. I don't know if this is going to blur. No, it shows. I love this one. How do I do this? What really influences customers in the age of nearly perfect information. This is a pretty interesting marketing book, because it talks about how marketing has changed so much today, in the sense that 50 years ago, you only needed to get in front of the customer and you were probably the only option, right? If you'd put your ad in the newspaper or you had a store on Main Street, they saw you, they bought from you. Now you can go on Amazon, and no matter what the product is, there's 1,000 sellers selling some version of it. So when they can read all those reviews and analyze all the different options, you're really competing in a much different way today than you did 10 years ago when Amazon wasn't as popular. So I love this book because it forces you to think about that, right? What are the customers sort of comparing us to, and how are we positioning ourselves in a way that truly is like different than what all the other options they have are. So I love those two, one for business, one is a marketing book. And then if I had to pick a non-marketing or business, if it's just more like thought, there's a book called Sapiens, and I really love that book. Again, it's not a business book. It's about humanity. And like, obviously it's from Homo sapiens. It's about the human condition, and a little bit maybe psychology, a little bit sociology, but a fascinating book if you want to read something that's not like business tips or marketing tips. Sapiens is a great read.
Excellent. And I just want to touch on, I love the sentence that you said. If the book stops you from doing the thing that you want to do, put it down, get to work. I like that. It's really practical.
I can see in the comments, Jackie saying she loves the 4-hour work week, change her life. So that's when a book was good, is when you put it into action.
Right.
And it had an impact on you. And usually it's great to have those lists and to read them when you're ready. It's like the books we were given to read in school. Sometimes it's like, oh, you had to do it, but you reread it later, or you're in a stage in your life where you can take the content and apply it, and it's a whole different experience.
Yeah. The last point that I'm going to make on this topic is a lot of times it's useful to write notes on the book and have a small little like a pad or something that you're writing practical ideas, ways that you would implement whatever the book is saying. Because if you're just reading it for the fun of it, read something fun. So it's a good opportunity for everyone to really write down their notes, write down some thoughts, to give you an opportunity to brainstorm and spin something off into really practical ways that impact your business.
I also love suggestions. While Pierre was talking, I just bought the Rebecca Minkoff book on the comment that somebody suggested, because I saw the title and it looks fantastic. So thank you for that suggestion.
Excellent. All right. So moving along. Let's see.
Oh, and we have Think and Grow Rich.
Go ahead. Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, someone is great. You'll have after in the comments, everyone can read all the recs from everyone. Sorry, Pierre.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I wanted to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about some strategies that you employ or that you're currently putting together to keep team morale high, to keep team alignment the same. What are some things that you have found over the years, over different companies, kind of keep everyone going in the same direction, of the same mindset, and really develop that internal culture?
Is this a me question and question?
It's a you question and an and question.
Yeah.
I'll go first. It's really an important question, actually, and it varies based on what stage you're at. Right, I've been in the early stages a lot where it's like 3 people. And the way you build and foster sort of cohesiveness when it's 3 people or 5 people or 8 people is very different than the way you build cohesiveness when there's 100 people or 200 people. So in either case, I would say one of the most important things is really being clear about your vision. Like, why does the company exist? What's the bigger purpose? Everybody, of course, needs to make money. We want to pay our bills and we want to be able to buy something nice when we want it. But there's so much more than that, especially as you grow in your career. It's no longer like just making, and actually I find this a lot, like people say the millennials or the Gen Z, right? Millennials, Gen Z, that they don't really care to work and they're not motivated. The issue is they're not really motivated by money a lot of the times, right? We think like, well, I'm paying you this much per hour, so you should want to work. And they just think about it differently, maybe because, and again, this is a mostly like American perspective, perhaps. But, if you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a lot of American Gen Z, and even going back a little further to millennials, they maybe weren't quite so worried about the bottom of the pyramid, and they're kind of moving up because maybe they have enough food, or they have some of those basic needs met. So they're looking to kind of fulfill bigger needs with work, right? If I have to work to eat, then I'm going to work wherever, right? That's fine. But if I know that I have enough to eat, now I want to work for purpose, right? What am I fulfilling in myself? What kind of mission am I being part of by doing this type of work? So I think, when you build culture, you've got to think of who your team is, and whether they're at that stage or not. I think being able to instill a vision that talks about why you exist, what's more important than the money, right? Because money they can get anywhere. I think, the biggest thing is people are like, oh, this person left and they got another job. Well, of course, all you're giving them is money, then they can just get money somewhere else, right? What's the magic that you're hoping to accomplish through the company, and being really upfront with that vision. And I think that gets people motivated to really work extra hours, to not just clock in and clock out, but to be home and thinking about something after work. You know, one of the best comments I think I got when I came to Builderall, and we were, you know, trying to define what this company was about. Somebody said to me, and again, I'm not Gary V, where I'm saying you have to work forever and you know, grind and don't sleep. You know, I think people should have a good balance in their life. But this person messaged me randomly, and she was like, you know, like, this is the first time that when the work day ends, I'm like excited to keep working. Like, I want to keep thinking about how to solve these problems, and I want to keep thinking about how we make this a better platform. And she's like, I've never felt that way. She's not in the US. She's one of our remote employees, but she's like, you know, and that's not the culture here where I live, but I'm excited. Like, I feel like we're doing something really meaningful, and that's worth way more than money, you know, in a lot of scenarios. So I think establishing a vision and then kind of rallying everyone around that vision is really important.
So just to piggyback off of that idea, and I see JT in the comments said money definitely isn't everything. If you look at the reasons why people leave companies, money is very rarely number one. You know, it's actually, I think there's been a couple, there's been a couple of pieces of research on it. I think the number 5 reason. So imagine 4 reasons more important than money: your team, your manager, the work you're doing, things of that nature. You know, that skews people to leave more often than money.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about locations. I know people are putting their locations in the chat, and I love that. I'm here in Miami. Anne is also in Miami. The unemployment rate in Miami is under 2%. So nobody's, you know, everybody's working, you know, and it's like, if you're leaving, it's because you want to find something better. And very rarely do you have to settle on something, because it's not like, you know, it's not like people aren't getting employed. There's so much opportunity that you're really looking for the thing that makes you fulfilled.
Excellent. Excellent.
Definitely. And to also, from what you were saying, that it's you read a study about that being one of the last reasons, or not the most important. I recently read something that they kind of instilled that vision and purpose in salespeople. I'm not exactly sure what the company was, but something very boring, well, to me, like selling insurance or something very random, and they performed a lot better. And you would think salespeople are the most money driven. That's literally how they make their commission. Like, it's a direct impact. But they did in the same company 2 different test groups, and they performed like 15% better. So even as a founder, owner, or manager, it's good on all fronts, basically.
I love that. I love that. Dwayne, you're definitely not the only one in New England. I know I'm in short sleeves today, but I'm in the Boston area, and I have my heater cranked up all the way in this room. So if you're in New England, you're probably just as cold as I am. But that said, I think it's a great topic. I also saw JT in the comments. They said, I work in IT, and their sister works as a sign language interpreter, and they've always been jealous of her. So I think that's where like a lot of the purpose and the meaning behind the work really comes in. I just think that's great. So, excellent. All right. So moving over through that, I see someone in the comments talking about jobs. Pedro, if you were to offer some tips to people looking to create that opportunity, either by employment or by expanding their business, where do you think people can go to explore ideas, to research some options that they can get into? What do you think is like the ground floor for people exploring new options?
To be honest, I think community is probably the best. Like, you could go on Google and you can search, you can go on LinkedIn and search, you can go on Indeed and you can search, and there's lots of things out there, don't get me wrong. But what I found is like the most powerful, not the easiest per se, but it takes a little bit of work, is finding communities that you can be a part of that provide like access to other people maybe at your level and access to other people at different levels, and kind of leveraging that network to figure out either what you want to do next or to get a path into what you want to do. Nowadays, like there's so many communities on Discord, on Slack, on Facebook. And if you find that you're gonna go through a few that are maybe dead and they don't have a lot of activity, but when you find a good one, that network plugs you into everything. And this doesn't exist only in this like vacuum. If you look at, for example, like in Hollywood, right? You look at these awards and all these actors that are winning awards. If you track it back to like when they got their start, you'll see like all the people who are winning the awards today were all part of like the same theater group 20 years ago, or they all graduated from the same class at Juilliard, or they, like there's always these little networks that create pockets of like opportunity for their members. And for me, it's worth the investment to find those pockets. And again, you might go through 3 groups that are useless or 4 groups that are useless, but the 5th group or the 6th group might be gold, right? So get into these groups, become a contributor. Don't just lurk and try to get people to do things for you, but join a group, see where you can provide value. And then, again, don't be shy about what you need or what your circumstances are, because you'll find more often than not, like the right people are always willing to help. And that's probably my biggest suggestion is plug in, get into a community, build a network, and you'll find that, 3 years later, 5 years later, your life could look completely different.
I love that. And I know you have a couple things to add to that.
No, it was making me think like what you mentioned about that networking, and you see all the people winning awards together. In a podcast recently, I listened to this lady who was also very successful, and she was saying that she was now a speaker at events, and before, when she was attending events, she was always trying to kind of network and connect with the speaker or the important people, because you're thinking like, oh, I want to learn from them and be mentored and all of that, obviously, which can work. And she kind of shifted her perspective, and she was realizing, actually, it's the girl next to me, we have the same goals and we can help each other. And now she made lots of friends when she shifted that mindset and engaged in conversation, and also put her energy in the people at her same level. And now they're all they have businesses, they're helping each other, and they're at that higher level. So that's also interesting, because it's not necessarily, you wouldn't think it's the quickest way, or it's not necessarily what people do also to connect with those, because you want to elevate yourself and grow when you're building that business, of course.
I love that. Sorry,
and
go
a
ahead.
perfect example is Anne and I met at like a startup pitch event. And she wasn't pitching, somebody else was pitching. I love their deck. I've told the story before. I love their deck. And I was like, man, great pitch, but your deck is fantastic. Like, it looks beautiful. And he's like, oh, here's the person that did my deck. And that's how we got introduced. And then from there, I've introduced her to like 2 other clients that I've worked with. And then the other day I was looking to hire a photographer, and I reached out to Anne. I said, hey, didn't you know somebody that was a photographer? And I reached out to the photographer who I talked to her as well. And she was like, hey, maybe you don't remember, but we also met 2 years ago at a networking event. So it's like that connection that we made, I don't know how long ago that was, and like has led to several business interactions since then. And we're just getting started, I think. Like where that goes in 5 years or 10 years is hopefully to like big and exciting places. But it does take that time to go to these events. And I would say I've been to like lots of events, hundreds of events where like I never talked to anybody again and I got nothing from it. But that's okay.
Definitely a lot. It's all about also perseverance. And I feel like it's when you expected the least. And for instance, that contest, I wasn't at all going for networking. I was supporting my client who was pitching, basically. And then and that's how things happen. It's just like repetition and like doing your thing and doing good work and iterating, for sure.
I love that. I want to connect that thought with something in the comments. JT, again, coming in with a great question today. How do you deal with competition when joining a community? I think your idea where looking laterally and connecting with the person who you think is your competitor can actually be a really good resource. Al-Karan, if I may give a story. A few years ago, I was working with a client, and I was at an agency. My manager was trying to get a bigger contract put together. And then that client, which we had like a 10 plus year relationship with, great client, very honest, looks at my manager and they say, you can't be everything to everyone, right? I'm coming to you for the creativity, for the analytics. I'm going to them for these specific things. And I want you guys to work together. So thinking of it that way, now it's a collaborative effort versus being an us versus them. So later on, that opportunity, you have another point of contact, you have another agency to connect with, down the line, a few years from now, you never know what the next opportunity looks like. So the person who you think is your competitor suddenly is part of that network, part of that community that you're putting together. So I think that's it's a cool idea to connect, and I'd love to hear both of your thoughts on it.
And
No, that's definitely super interesting. And I think about competition specifically. I love to take that quote that I got from my yoga teacher, and she always says, there is enough sun for everyone.
Right.
There's enough money and business. It's already there. You just have to grab it. And when you have that mindset, oftentimes who you think your competition is not actually, they can become an ally. They can, and sometimes it's just, I even have recommended leads or potential clients to competitors, if you think of it broadly. And I love to also, when we see in studies, for instance, that study of if you have one vending machine, like just Coca-Cola, and one Coca-Cola and one Pepsi, they will both sell more because people feel like they have choice. So you think or those streets where it's plenty of restaurants, and you think, what would a restaurant be in front of? But then it becomes the neighborhood and people go there versus not going, and they all get more business. I feel like we don't see it because we're very digital. That's just how things work, I think, generally, but it's definitely a mindset shift.
yeah, when we were, so I'm also an investor on the side. Do not spam the comments with ask me for investment. But one of the things, one of the red flags that we see with a startup is when a startup pitches to us and they say, "Oh, there's no competitors in our space. Like, we're the only one doing this." And it's like, okay, if you're the only one doing this, either there's no market because nobody else is selling there, so there's no opportunity, or you don't really understand who your competition is. Right. So you should always embrace competition. And you two both had fantastic points, right? How do you turn them into allies? How do you collaborate with them instead of competing with them? The only other thing I'd say is, how do you use that to make sure you're clearly differentiated from them, right? Because if you're selling the same exact thing that they're selling and you're intimidated by that, maybe you need to adjust what you're selling or who you're selling it to or how you're selling it. And I'll give you a shortcut here. It's never about price. Making it more affordable is never the right choice. That's never the right choice. So if you find someone that's selling exactly what you're selling in exactly the same way then really it should challenge you to figure out, okay, how can I be different and how should I be different so that when a customer looks at us, I'm not the same, and that's a very valid perspective. But I also think like having that mindset of scarcity, which is like what Anne's yoga teacher, like I need to get all the sun because there's not going to be enough sun, is always a problem. And you should always be setting yourself up with that mindset of like abundance. Like there's way more business for all of us here than we could ever service. So how do we work together? And those are really important concepts.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Oh, and Jackie is saying competition drives me. That's so, if there's really, and it happens sometimes, there's someone that you know their business and it's very similar to yours, or you see that you're not at that level, let that be also your inspiration to be better. Sometimes I've had that, like in the early days of designing, you're not good when you start at something, and then you see people doing better than you, and it can be also a great driver.
Right. I think what I've seen over the years is, and maybe we can touch on this point, how ego becomes the barrier for you to actually learn. And you stop yourself like, oh, I can't believe they did that thing better than me. Or you see something that maybe you didn't think of, or maybe they implemented different, or they did something a little like that tangent. I'm gonna skip the big word, but I'm gonna butcher here. What I'm getting at is, sometimes you look at someone's output, you don't see how they got there. If you look at it, you might feel a little a certain way. That ego response, once you put that to the side, you're able to learn and break down what they did. And that could be a great opportunity for you to also grow, also learn, also develop from it. I think I'd love to get some insight there.
Definitely.
So we're getting close on time to where we might want to start transitioning out of Q&A.
Yeah. Cool.
Do we have the winner lined up?
Let me check in on that. In the meantime, let's get into the last question. Maybe we can tangent into our Q&A or our Dream Builder Award winner through that. Before we came live, we were having a conversation about what success looks like, what how everyone wants that viral response. You post something online, then you wake up the next day and your life is different. Boom, you have 600 million views, and people are lining up to support you and fund you and do all that good stuff. In your experience, and with you working with so many businesses, can you give us a realer perspective on what that looks like, all the different channels that might lead to success, how everything becomes a game of addition and not a game of explosion?
Yeah. One of the things we focus on with the Dream Builder Award is like someone's passion for something. And for me, passion is like a shortcut to persistence. If you're really excited about something and you really believe in something, you've got a better chance of sticking it out long enough to be successful. We had talked before we went live about, how I've had a lot of people say over the years, well, Pedro, yeah, it's great. You've been an entrepreneur for so long and it was so easy for you, but there was a lot of time where there was a lot of grinding and a lot of failures and a lot of work that I didn't get paid for that people don't see. And if I would have quit at any of those moments, I never would have reached that level of success that I had back then, which enabled me to become an entrepreneur. And I won't tell the whole story, but I've seen that you see this over and over again. There was I remember there was a singer that came out a number of years ago, and the big thing was oh, she just got discovered on YouTube. She did this cover on YouTube and somebody saw it, and then she got offered a record deal, and they were like, oh, it's so easy to get discovered nowadays. And the first thing I did is I went to her YouTube channel and I went to her videos page, and I went to show all, right? And I realized there was 3 years of YouTube videos that she had been posting literally every week. And they had 15 views, 20 views, 30 views. And then she had one that did really well with 200 views. And then it went back down to 8 views and 6 views. And I was like, man, if this girl would have given up at any point in that 3-year journey, she wouldn't have had the one video that went viral that got her the record deal, right? But all anyone ever focuses on is that one that went viral and they got the record deal. They don't think about all the work that happened before that. So to Pierre's point, success isn't like one day having a viral hit that explodes or a company that starts driving revenue like crazy and you exit from. It's really like each little moment in that journey where she did one video, that 200 view video, as opposed to 15 views, that was a moment of success for her. And then yeah, it went back down to 8. And I'm sure that's pretty disappointing, but that's part of how it goes. You have these moments and then it goes back. And if she didn't have the passion to continue doing that, she never would have had that success. And I think so many of us give up before we have that success. So we've got to learn to like build these little successes. And maybe that means who knows what else she was doing. All we can see is her public YouTube page. I guarantee you she was doing performances. She was entering contests. She was probably like recording and making submissions into, join different groups. She was probably doing a ton of different things and maybe a little bit of success here and a little bit of success there. And she got booked for a gig here and she, somebody replied back to her. And each of those things starts to build up that, what we call success, and if we take those for what they are and we learn from them and we continue doing that generally for long enough, then yeah, we will have that build up to that big moment of success that happens. And then everybody looks back and says, oh, it was so easy for you, right? But we've got to be part of that journey and be excited about that journey as we go through it.
So I'm touching base with our back office, so to speak. Unfortunately, we don't have the winner in this call, but we can play that video, announce the winner, and reach out to them on the side and connect with them.
Perfect. And what I like about this winner this month is I think she's got the passion. And I think she's at that moment where she's trying lots of things and she's seeing some success here and some success there and some success there. But maybe part of what we want to do with the Dream Builder Award, right, is enable her to get to that next level and maybe help her see that next level of success as we work with her. And again, she's going to do it regardless. She's going to do it. She doesn't need Builderall's help to get there, right? Because a tenacious founder, a tenacious entrepreneur is going to be successful regardless. But these are exactly the type of people that we want to get in and support so that we can give her the tools she needs to kind of make things happen. So I'm excited to see this.
Excellent. So our winner for this month is Cindy Branson. For all you guys who know her, give her a big round of applause and we can play the video.
Hello, my name is Cindy Branson. My business has 3 income streams. I work with small business clients as a digital freelancer. I am building a team for my primary association with Builderall, where I offer an active team atmosphere, and I also sell other people's products as an affiliate marketer. I think this is a very common situation for many entrepreneurs today, and projections show that it will only grow year over year in the future. That is why I want Builderall to be my primary source of income. I want to be able to refocus on selling Builderall to others that are in my shoes. My goal will continue to be able to help them get started without the roadblocks that I had in my way. This business model will show them they can grow a business in their spare time, make it a full-time income solution, and have it be a passive income well into their retirement. I have been an entrepreneur for nearly 15 years. I transitioned to being 100% online 3 years ago come May. My journey has been anything but a straight path, though. This map shows you I have changed directions, had setbacks, and kept moving forward. This is the most important lesson I learned and think every entrepreneur needs to understand. The online business is not hard work if you are willing to work hard. My goal of success may not look like many others. I really want to bring home about $7,500 a month, with about 2/3 of that being my commissions from Builderall. I choose to sell Builderall because I am also a user. I know it offers a complete set of tools that were designed to work together at an affordable price. This kept me from getting many technical headaches, and it also keeps my marketing budget on track month after month. I know I can continue to grow and expand my business to meet my goal of success in the near future. I am excited to share my whole story with you and see how I can continue to shift to become a true success story that inspires other budding entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent.
Now, I do want to mention part of her path to business is selling Builderall, but that is absolutely not a requirement for the Dream Builder Award. We loved her video. She's been doing this for 15 years. She's been grinding. I feel like she's at that point where she could use that like bump to the next level. So we want to help her out. But for anybody watching, you might have been saying, well, of course she gets it because her goal is to sell Builderall as an affiliate. One, you could join Builderall as an affiliate and find that same path that's available. But two, that is not at all a requirement for the Dream Builder Award. We just loved what Cindy was doing. I love the passion that she's bringing to it. And I think she's at a place where we could really help her in her business.
Oh, she just commented.
See Cindy here in chat. Cindy, congratulations.
She's here.
Oh, perfect.
Can we give her the link? How do we get her a link? Can we email it to you? I'd love to get her on here. We were trying to reach you ahead of time, Cindy. Maybe we don't have the right contact info.
All right. We'll connect with her on the side. In the meantime, Pedro, let's talk a little bit about the award, what people can do, what you want to see for next month, what people can do to help them get another chance at the Dream Builder.
Yeah, so remember, March is the last month that we're doing the Dream Builder. We may bring it back later this year, but we're committing a lot of time to these winners. So we're finding like if we bring a whole lot more, we're probably going to be a little overwhelmed. So March is the last month. So it's your last time to get involved. We really suggest you have an entry submitted by the 22nd because we do meet a little bit before the end of the month to try to like select the winner, and we do it by committee. We all sit together and kind of see who's got the submission that works. And again, I'll mention what we're looking for is like authenticity. We're looking for passion. We're looking for the sense that you are going to stick with, whatever you're doing, and it's not just like, hey, I want to try this, and then you get the money and you go, take a trip to the Bahamas or something. We want to see you grow, but of course the money's yours to do whatever you want with it. So we'll take it the way we can. But yeah, if you can show passion, we love videos. But one of the winners this month just submitted like a written post talking about her passion and what she's been building. She didn't do a video, but we do recommend videos. It's a lot easier for us to get a feel for your motivation and what gets you excited. And that's it. Make sure you tag us. I don't know can we put the URL on the screen where they can go to get all the details? And the last thing I'll say is if you have submitted a video in January or in February and you didn't get selected, you are more than welcome to write into us at success@builderall.com. So if we can put that on the screen as well or in the chat, success@builderall.com. Write in, give us a link to your video and say, hey guys, I submitted a video. Any tips, any feedback, any thoughts, and we will do our best to get back to you quickly and with some feedback as to maybe, there's a lot, again, it's tough. Picking a winner is really tough because we go through and we see like some great videos and some great entries in general. But if you write to us and say, hey, I thought I did a good video, you didn't pick me, what's up? I'm happy to give you the feedback as to, it could be like, hey, we really like you and you're in the consideration for March, or it could be, we didn't really understand what you're building. Remember that, we are looking, in this case, we've got 3 awards. One is in Portuguese, one's in Spanish, one's in English. If you're building a business that's targeted to a language that's not one of those 3, it does make it difficult for us to select you as the winner. So we did get some of those some of them that were actually in the final consideration, but at the end it was like, well, the whole business is really in a different language. And we said this particular version is the English award. So, the business should be in English. It can be anywhere in the world, but it's gotta be in English for this. If your business is in Spanish or in Portuguese, we have the 2 other versions that you could join. And that's my feedback. And Pierre, anything on your guys' side?
About that, not on my end. Congrats to Cindy. That's amazing.
Awesome. Well, my only thing is just to echo what you said, Pedro. Just tell us your story. Show us the path that brought you here. You know, I always think about this. It's an amazing sequence of events that drives everything to this point for you to submit your video telling us about your story, for us to see it. The whole thing is a great experience. And so take that opportunity, tell your story, tell it like you actually want to kind of memorialize it, right? So I think it's for us, we want to see the whole journey. We want to see the person, we want to see the business, we want to see, you know, all the context around it. You know, the more the better. The more the better.
Yeah, I'll mention too, because undoubtedly we always see these. We do not want a Builderall ad. Don't record a video that says, this is why I love Builderall, because Builderall is great. And Builderall says, that's not what we're looking for. We want to know why you are building your business, right? What is it that drives you? Cindy, you know, obviously she mentioned Builderall, but that's not what we're looking for in particular in these videos. We want you to tell your story. I think one of the questions in the submission is why did you choose Builderall to work with? And okay, yeah, so fine. I mean, hopefully you say some nice things, but that's not what we're looking for. We are looking for you to tell us your passion and why you're doing what you're doing. And that's generally what the winning selection is based on.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I think from what you guys discussed also earlier, because that's that mindset, that passion leads to perseverance, and basically that we know that those people who are very passionate, they will persevere in that business, and it's for the long term, and they will make good use of that price, basically.
Yeah, there's somebody in the chat too. I think then her name was Anissa. Same, like we put our email address on the screen. I get a copy of that email, success@builderall.com. Shoot us an email. I'd love to hear your story. It looks like you were putting in the comments, but it's hard for me to pay attention to the video and the comments at the same time. But shoot us an email at success@builderall.com. I'd love to hear your story and see if there is a way maybe we can help.
Awesome. Well, we can round out this call. I do have one question that I saw in the comments that I just can't pass up, because I think it's really true to the core of Builderall and what we're living with every day. So the question comes from Facebook, from a Facebook user. I think it was submitted as anonymous, so we don't know who it is exactly. It reads, how important is it for organization to have a common language? What are the 3 to 4 other foundational things like mission, strategy, etc.? Thanks. And the reason why I really like this question is that at Builderall, we actually support 6 languages native. So we're dealing with teams in the US, we have teams in Latin America, teams in Europe, teams in Brazil. So we have a big collection of people. Pedro, I'd love your thoughts on how to get some internal unity, mission, strategy, things that kind of are the foundation there.
Yeah, I saw that comment, and I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if he meant language as in like spoken language or like a corporate speak type of language, like how Starbucks has a whole different set of names for their sizes. And I think that can be a really powerful culture builder. Again, you've got to be a certain size. If there's 4 of you and you're making up your own words, like, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit overkill. But definitely as you start to grow and as you're reaching more customers, it goes back to that like differentiation point, and it may seem silly. I mean, I know I still don't remember what they call a small drink in Starbucks. I think the small is the tall or something, or the tall is the medium. I don't know, but it does kind of differentiate you in the market. And so I think when we talk about, again, your competitive differences and how you create a culture, as you grow, I think that common language, your own like little brand of corporate speak really becomes valuable. I don't stress about it too much, and Anne is actually more branding than I am, so maybe she's got some feedback here. But I think, I don't worry about it too much in the early days. I think over time, though, you do start to build it, and almost like it can happen naturally. But Anne is a brand consultant, so maybe she can tell us more about sort of how you build that brand as it grows.
Yeah, I think definitely common language is important for the internal organization once you grow and your team grows. I do work on brand strategy and tone of voice with clients, and I think it's important part of branding. So for instance, in our tone of voice strategies, we would include up to like the specific words to use in communications, whether on the website or even social media. We have a table like these are the words that we could use. We use those. We don't use those on purpose because then it stems from our positioning. And we even go into emojis to use on Instagram in posts. We have recommended emojis just because it builds recognition and that's part of your brand. So you can go until that. Then I think it only becomes important internally once you grow, because if your team has the same culture, then you're pretty fine. But I think you mentioned in your comments the foundational things like mission, strategy. I think it's your vision, your value proposition that are very important. And I love to work with brand personality. And then from that, you can really work on your tone of voice and that language, basically.
Love that. I love that. I think it's great, especially if you have a common goal that's really clear. It really unites the team behind it. Cool. So with that, I think that about wraps it up for us today. I think it's another one for the books. Congratulations, Cindy. Pedro, thank you so much. And thank you so much. Appreciate your time. For everyone in chat, again, it's success@builderall.com. So feel free to reach out if you have submitted or you want to resubmit. If you want to post it online, if you want to create another video, make sure to tag us with the right handle. Use the hashtag #DreamBuilder. And we will see you all on the next one. Thank you so much.
And remember, success@builderall.com if you have any questions. Cool. All right, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.